Take a look at topic 6.2, exponential models, and we're going to start by reviewing compound interest. All of these problems that we're dealing with in 6.2 are going to be based on money, finances. So here we go. We have compound interest. Your P is going to be your initial principal invested, so any money that you start out with. Now also notice if we look at this function, this is in the form y equals a times b raised to the x, where your a value is always going to be your y-intercept. And anytime we have a y-intercept in a real world problem, it's usually there's an initial, there's something to start it. Your rate is the annual interest rate, always written as a decimal. It's usually given to you as a percentage, and you'll have to convert it to a decimal. Your N refers to the number of compounding periods per year. If it's annual, that means it's compounded once a year. If it's semi-annual, that's 2 times a year. Quarterly happens 4 times a year. Remember, there's 4 quarters in a year. Monthly, 12 times a year. There's 12 months in a year. If it would be weekly, you'd have like 52, daily 365. It's all based on per year. Your A is the value of the account after however many years you're asked to find. Now keep in mind, this is all in years. So if for some reason you ever got anything that asked for, say, 6 months, 6 months is a half of a year, so you'd have to convert that to 0.5. Let's take a look at an example. This is coming from page 304 in your textbook. It is a word problem. It is, Tamir invests $5,000 in an account, so her initial invested is $5,000, that pays 4% annual interest. There we have it. How much will there be in the account after 3 years? So my time is 3 years. If the interest is compounded, we're going to do semi-annually. So here we go. Let's set this up. I know my formula is A equals 1 plus my interest rate over the compounding periods raised to the compounding periods times time. So my initial invested, forgot my P, my initial invested is 5,000. My annual interest rate, I need to write this as a decimal. So to do that, you're just going to move your decimal over 2 places, 1, 2. So 4% as a decimal is 0.04. Your time is 3 years. We're compounded semi-annually, so if it's semi-annually, that is 2 times per year. So N equals 2. And now let's just plug this in. We have A equals, my principal is 5,000 times 1 plus my rate 0.04 all over my compounding periods, which is 2, raised to the 2 times my time is 3. And from here on out, it is calculator work. There are so many different ways to enter this depending on what kind of calculator you use, so I'm not really going to show that in this video. I'm going to give you the answer. We'll discuss some calculator tips as we go. If you're not getting the right answers and you can't figure it out, please contact me. Let me help you through it. The one thing I'm going to recommend, in most calculators, you would need to, when you enter this in, you would need to put parentheses here. I would also recommend 2 times 3 is 6. This is easy. Enter this in as a 6 instead of a 2 times 3. If for some reason you would need to do that multiplication, enter it straight up into your calculator. you would need parentheses around that whole thing. So if you enter this in your calculator, you should come out with A equals 5,630.81 cents. Now, when you plug this in, you're going to get a big long decimal. Make sure we're talking about money. You should take your decimals out to the nearest hundredths. We have cents. Okay, next up, continuously compounded interest. So in these situations, in your word problems, it will tell you, instead of saying compounded monthly, compounded annually, etc., it'll say compounded continuously. You would use this formula. We have A is the value in our account after T years. Again, notice we're still in years. Your P is that initial amount of money that's been invested. E is the natural base. This is a number kind of like pi. It's like 2.718. It just repeats on and on. It's naturally occurring. We see it a lot in nature. We're just going to use it as a button in your calculator. Your R, that is your interest rate, and again, that needs to be written as a decimal. And your time is always in years. So let's do an example. This is coming from page 305. And it says Regina invests $12,600 in an account that earns 3.2% annual interest, compounded continuously. What is the value of the account after 12 years? So here we go. We have got our formula. So my initial amount invested is 12,600. E is my natural base. And now raised to the rate times time. My rate, again, I'm in percents. I need to move my decimal 2 places over. So this is 0.032. So I'm going to have 0.032 times time. Time is 12. And now from here on out, you're plugging it into a calculator. Let me, on a calculator, you're going to be looking for e to the x. And e to the x is usually found, you have to hit second, and then you will have a button. It's either an uppercase or lowercase ln. If you are using Desmo Scientific, which is great, it works, it's okay for this course, but if you're ever taking the SAT or ACT and you have to do something like this, you won't have the features that Desmos gives you. If you're in Desmo Scientific, it's going to be under your functions option. Make sure when you are, if you put it in a calculator that does have this e to the x function, usually it'll start a parenthesis for you, but you have to be careful. Make sure that this multiplication is within parentheses. Some calculators, if you try to hit e to the x, and it usually will bring you down to 1, that means you need to multiply your exponent first and then hit e to the x on your calculator and then multiply by your initial principal. Your answer here should come out as approximately $18,498.63. And again, if you can't get these answers on your calculator, please contact me. I'm more than happy to help you out.